Hello, it's Redheadtakes. What? We're back again for another video 2 days in a row? Who would have thought? Well, since the last video yesterday isn't doing so well, I figured I'd supplement that with another video and strike while the iron is hot. Now, I did the Dark Souls 1 bosses a couple weeks ago. Now I figured I'll do Dark Souls 3. And for those who are wondering, I have not played Dark Souls 2. I've tried to play it. It's just not as good. Someday I'll play it on stream and then I'll rank all those bosses too. I also haven't played Demon Souls either, or Sekiro, or any of those other games. I have played Elden Ring, but let me know what you think down in the comments below. And also, just for reference, I did not play the DLCs yet for this, so maybe someday I will re-rank them with the Ashes of Ariandel bosses and the Ring City bosses as well. And just a shout out to my fellow YouTuber friend DF Guitar. Check out his video reacting to guitar songs, playing guitar. He's really good. Give him a shout out and check him out on his channel. But let me know what you think down below, and let's get into the tiers. Now, of course, we have God tier, best of the best, the great ones that are just below. Then there's a few average ones that are just, the lore is fine, the area is fine, the arena is fine, the music is fine. It's just fine and dandy. Then there's one in the toilet. These are the ones that just suck, or they just are really easy to beat, and their lore, well, may be impressive. Just as an overall boss battle, it's just not much. And of course, the ones I didn't fight, mainly the DLC bosses. But let me know what you think down below. And let's start out with the Abyss Watchers, who is a really fun fight. I love the Abyss Watchers, not only for their lore, but their music is some of the best in the series. I mean, the fight overall is pretty easy if you get them early. Like if you've watched my videos before, you know that I like to use strength build. So if you go after them one after the other and try and eliminate one at a time, you'll be okay. And by the time the second round comes up, you should be fine. But I mean, it's kind of sad. One of the Lords of Cinder, what happened? They all went crazy. They all came consumed by the Abyss with them or behind their master Artorias. It's still a great fight though. The visuals are fantastic. Like I said, the music is so beautiful. I listen to it all the time. There's some of the best music in the series is in Dark Souls 3, and cannot recommend enough to just listen to it. The music. Arguably, you could listen to the music before you even play this game, just to get a thought. And then when you play the game and listen to the music, oh, it just opens up everything. It's so epic. It's such a great time. Definitely one of the best boss fights on here, and one of my favorites in the Soul series, period. Now we get to one that I just hate. I hate Aldrich. I hate Aldrich. I hate this guy. I hate fighting him. He sucks. Every time I fight him, he kills me a ton. His lore is cool because he's one of the Lords of Cinder, and he just kept eating and eating and eating and eating and eating until he just can this blob, gluttonous demon creature. The music is pretty good. This creepy, eerie orchestral sound in the background is great. And of course, you're fighting in Anor Londo, where you fought Ornstein and Smo. This guy took me a long time to beat. It took me upwards of 30-40 times to beat this fucker. He sucks. He kept killing me with a stupid magical arrow attack, and I felt no shame in using the secondary helper. I can't remember what her name is, but I have no shame using the computer character online because it really helps a lot. Just to have somebody else to take away some of the damage, because if you're just fighting it alone, you're going to get smeared. And especially if you're a strength build user like I am, you're going to go down fast. And while the lore is cool, it's just, as a fight, he just whips me into submission every time. It's not a dog shit fight. It's just a really hard one. So I'll be kind and put him into average. But man, do I hate coming across this guy every time, because there's no way to avoid him because he is a Lord of Cinder. Next, now we'll go to one that actually does in the toilet. Ancient Wyvern. while the ancient wyvern looks cool and the music is epic and great sounding, really wide sweeping orchestral sound is fantastic, the fight just revolves around you running around steps, getting higher and higher, then plunging a sword into the dragon, and boom, dead. One shot the dragon. The dragon looks cool, but it's just such a letdown. What could have been cool, there could have been some cool mechanics here and there, but it boils down to you jumping down, one shot at the dragon. The lore, there's just not much there. It's just a giant dragon on Archdragon Peak. Definitely not like the other boss that's on this list, but one that is so forgettable, and it's an easy one. I did not die against him during my run through. It's just a very forgettable one. Champion Gravetender, it's a DLC boss. Did not fight that one. Champion Gundyr is great. He's even better than Udix Gundyr, because lore-wise, this guy is a champion that came to conquer the flame, but the Firekeeper was dead, and he just sits in this eerie dark room. Champion that couldn't link the fire because there was no fire to link, and he's even more aggressive than Udix Gundyr. This one took me a while to beat. Even later on, when I was more powered up, this guy still gave me a little bit of trouble. It probably took me 5-6 times to beat him, but he's one of those fights where when you beat him, you feel really accomplished because he has long sweeping attacks. He's very aggressive. He will kill you faster than you can say oops if you're not careful. One that I enjoy, I really do enjoy this fight, is a real check yourself fight, as it were. Lore-wise, great. Music, deep, dark, somber notes. Sad because he's just fighting without a Firekeeper to protect, fighting without the fire to link, and it's a really good boss fight. Just not as good as Abyss Watchers, but just right below it. Crystal Sage. Crystal Sage is very average. Again, not hard, at least for me. I've across of all the YouTubers that have faced the Crystal Sages, some have said it's pretty easy, and I agree. It's a pretty easy fight. I guess you gotta watch out for the magic. But if you're strength build and you're up to a certain level, you should be able to bang, bang, bang. You just have to watch out for the magic. Lore-wise, there's not much here. The music is, again, kind of like a somber, little high-pitch sound. I don't know. It's not, the musical score in this one is not too memorable. Like, the lore-wise, it's not great. The arena is fine, just kind of generic, broken down buildings in the swamps. But, yeah, pretty average fight. I'm not going to say in the toilet because it's still kind of fun for me. But, again, not much to say. The Dancer of the Boreal Valley is a great fight. And this is another one of those bosses that gave me a lot of trouble. I almost quit over this one because there's a long, sweeping attack, winding up, and that attack motion always gets me every time. It's hard to avoid. You can't really parry her. I mean, you have to be really good at parrying, which during my time playing Dark Souls 3, I've learned to get better at. I'm still not the best at it. Wouldn't say it's a forte for me, but I can do it well enough. But you have to dodge, and you have to try not to use up your Estus Flask right away, because the later it gets in the fight, the lore behind it is pretty fun. It's created by Pontiff Sylvain. Basically corrupted young woman. The arena's kind of generic. The music gets louder and louder and faster as it goes along. It's still somber and deep, but it gets a little more high pitch going forward. It's a fun fight. it's a hard fight. It's definitely another check yourself fight, because if you're not ready to fight it and you don't have a gotta have a lot of stamina for this one, because you're gonna be swinging, and if you miss, she's gonna punish you, and you're gonna be dead just like that. But it's still a fun fight nonetheless. Deacons of the Deep. Again, average. It's a fun gimmick fight. You have to look for the Deacon in red, and that's the one you'll can start whittling away the damage on. All the other Deacons are just fodder. There's a little danger in getting surrounded by these guys. If you're high enough level, it's not too bad. You can take a lot of hits, but obviously you don't want to try and get surrounded if you can help it. But it's still a fun fight nonetheless. It's just definitely on the lower end. The lore wise is, I mean, there's a little bit there, but not too much. The music is cool. Again, more deep, dark orchestral chords. In a dingy fallen cathedral. Not much to say else beside that. A gimmick fight, pretty easy. And as long as you're careful, you should beat it in one shot. Not much more to say than that. Old Demon King, I believe that's a DLC fight. I don't believe I've ever fought him. Demon Prince, definitely haven't fought that guy. Dragon Slayer armor is really cool. I mean, the design of the Dragon Slayer armor is awesome. It looks like it has a giant turtle shell shield, a giant blade. It kind of fights around like Tower Knight from Demon Souls, but yeah, I mean, it just looks cool. You just have to watch out for his swing though, because he has a very punishing speed. You have to try and duck and dodge out of the way and try and get behind him, because there's no way getting through that shield. Definitely a parry fight. If you can parry away his sword, you should be able to take damage and get a few hits in there. But the main reason is to dink and dodge away, get him from behind, and he's not too hard, but if you're not careful, he can take you down like that. The music is cool as always. The area you're fighting, you're right around. You're getting close to the end. You're getting close to fighting Soul Cinder. Obvious Berserk parallels in there with the eclipse in the sky, looking like the eclipse from Berserk. The flying creatures in the above don't really do you any damage, but you can attack them nonetheless, and they can fight back. He's a fun fight, very doable if you can parry well. If you can parry well, you should be just fine. But yeah, it's a pretty memorable fight, to say the least. Most of these fights in this game are very memorable. And yeah, one to remember. We'll put some more of the DLC boss fights down here. Half-Light, of course, obviously I haven't fought him. I haven't fought Slave Knight Gale DLC, arguably one of the best out there. Sister Freed, have not fought her. I suppose I have fought the old Demon King, because he's the demon fire sage. Very average. Lore is kind of cool. You can easily just walk past him and not even have to fight him. But not very memorable. He's very much like the demon from the first Dark Souls and the Asylum Demon. And other than that, not much to say. Rotted Greatwood. Average. Very average. I mean, when you look at the rotted Greatwood, you look at it as like, oh, disgusting. Especially those disgusting ball sacks that it has on it. If you can attack those, you can do some major damage. Then you fall down, and the second phase isn't too bad. This is a relatively early fight, so definitely want to get your strength up if you're a strength build. Haven't played any other builds. Haven't played a magic build or anything ever, but it's easy enough. Definitely the music is more haunting, dark, deep chords, very fun. But overall as a fight, very forgettable for me. Udix Gundyr is a great, great intro fight. I mean, it is one of the best fights to start out a Dark Souls game ever. It's like a perfect intro showing all the mechanics that you need to learn. The second phase is haunting for sure. Like when he blows out his abyssal form, you're like, what the hell is going on? Where did this come from? And he's hard. He's damaging, especially since he's the first boss you're gonna fight, and you don't have a lot of Estes. Your strength isn't up. Your sword isn't very powerful. You gotta be able to know how to dodge, dip, dive, and dodge as much as possible. And I've never tried to parry with this fight because usually when you're fighting him, it's so early in the game and you just want to fight him and get him over with and get to Firelink. He's still a fun fight. The music is fantastic as always. The setting is great. It's a real success when you beat him because you're like, all right, I got the first boss fight down. I can go to Firelink and the rest of the journey begins. It's basically a test. Is if you're worthy, if you can beat Udix Gundyr, you're worthy enough to link the fire eventually. It's just a matter of time. This is basically the testing ground to see if you can't beat him. You're just not gonna be able to link the fire. He's not gonna let you do it. But if you do, showing that you have the strength and skill to go forward, and that's a great feeling, especially early in the game. Dark Eater Midir, another DLC boss. Now we get to one of my favorite bosses of all time. The Nameless King. Even though this guy took me forever. Again, this is the boss fight that made me walk away for a while. I had to walk away, I had to play something else for a while because it was so frustrating. Because of the two distinct phases, this guy killed me over 100 times. No doubt, killed me 100 times. I'm not ashamed to say it because he was a hard motherfucker. When I beat him, it felt so good. This guy is so cool. His area is so awesome. The lore wise is 100% awesome because he's the son of Gwyn, who was forgotten about because he sided with the dragons. Now, after a while, after fighting him many times, you can get through him riding his dragon boss pretty quickly and without any damage. But even then, when you're just fighting him, he's strong. His attacks are fierce, fast. You don't have a lot of time in between to get hit, so you cannot get greedy. You can parry a decent amount, but you have to watch out because if you miss, he will punish you with his lightning spear attack and bringing lightning down on you. When I beat him in the run that I beat him, I was down to 0 S's flash. So it was like, it's been over 100 times. I need to beat him. The orchestral score is victorious, great, soaring through the heavens, fantastic. Like I said, the area is great. This guy looks so cool. He's just a heroic warrior, fallen to the dark side, at least according to Gwyn, sided with the dragons to fight against his father. It's just a great fight, one of the most memorable out there. And after you beat him, you can get, or you're able to claim Ornstein's armor, and then you wear Ornstein's armor the rest of the time because it's just so awesome. But yeah, this guy gave me the most fits possible in a Dark Souls game I've ever played. Osiros. I gotta be honest, the first time I beat Osiros, I skipped him. I think I skipped him because by the time on my second playthrough, is like, wait, who's this Osiros? Who's Osiros? I've heard about him. He's the king of Lorien, but yeah, I never fought him the first time around. You can easily skip him, but he is still a good fight. So sad how this once mighty king changed himself into a dragon. It just goes to show how changing into the dragon has its horrible spots and horrible moments. It's not a clean transition to change in between species. His wind up, or you're able to get in there pretty quickly, and then by his second phase, he starts crawling around like a dragon. Have to watch out for his charging attacks. Obviously, he has some mean whips here and there. Once you're not worried, he's not worried about his invisible baby that's totally not there. He gets more fierce, but I think it took me like 3 or 4 times to beat him. The music is definitely somber and haunting. It's definitely one of those sad fights. It to me, Osiris is like the equivalent to the Grey Wolf Sith fight, where you just feel bad hurting him, but also you feel it's necessary to do so, nonetheless. Horrifying, disgusting, but he's still a worthy challenge, one that you can get through easily enough. Pontiff Salvain. Now this motherfucker, oh, this guy is great. If there's one truly evil mastermind in this whole game, this would be him. I mean, if you look at his lore, he probably came from the painting of Ariandel, and then ruled the Boreal Valley with an iron fist. His secondary fights, when he starts changing into or morphing into multiples, is really hard. This is definitely a parry fight. If you can get down parrying pretty well, he's not that hard. But at this point, I hadn't gotten parrying down very good, and he punished me. Again, I have no shame in using the secondary character to help you out. His score is haunting, orchestral, booming lyrics. It's fantastic. It's a fun fight. Definitely a challenge fight. Definitely one to say, like, are you ready to go on further? Have you leveled up properly? Have you ranked up your levels properly? This is one of those fights that shows, like, are you ready to go on with the rest of the game? Because after Pontiff Sylvain, the rest of the game really picks up after that, and he's an evil motherfucker. But when you beat him, another great challenge, another great accomplishment to beat him, because he punishes you. And if you don't know how to block, you don't know how to parry, it's going to be a harder fight for sure. Soul of Cinder is a great fight as well. You're using every one of the things you've learned: parrying, dodge rolling, blocking, everything you've learned in this game. Of course, he's the final boss fight, and is really a true test of everything you've learned. It really is. And it's long, sweeping attacks, fire attacks. He can dodge, he can jump, he'll stab you and punish you like no other. His music is great. His area, again, it's like the Valley of the Quips from Berserk, obviously, with all the swords in the ground, the quips in the air, very reminiscent of Berserk. It's a great fight. Definitely one of the better ones in the whole series. And then it blends in many of the themes from Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. Like, it blends in Gwyn's theme in the end, because you're fighting the last fight, like Gwyn's might, the last chance to link the fire, and it's a great fight. It'll get you down, but it's definitely doable. And if you can parry this guy, you should be just fine. High Lord Wolnir is kind of a toilet fight too, because he's pretty easy. If you can hit his arm bracelets early, you can do damages like that. You have to watch out though for his fog effect area attack. That will take you down very fast, and you have to watch which side you go to. Always try and attack the left bracelet first, and his skelly enemies can gang up on you really quickly, so go for those arm bracelets really quickly. He comes in and out of the darkness. His lore is pretty cool, because he's basically like this conqueror that killed everything in Carthage. But as a fight, there's just not much to it. The Again, more haunting, somber themes. Haunting, somber orchestral sound is great because you're in the dark. You're like in a catacombs area, so it really blends with the area perfectly well. And great. It's not a good fight. It's a pretty easy one. Just have to watch out where you're going when he's attacking. Vort of the Boreal Valley. I'd say he's an average one. I'm not gonna put him above Aldrich, but he's a fun fight nonetheless. Again, one of the great early fights as well. Basically, just a giant knight that became a creature. Um, if you stay under him early and attack his head, you can do a lot of damage. But then he starts to move around, starts to run around like a giant beast, jumping, running, and he's not too hard. Just have to watch out for his charging attacks, of course. The music is great. It's a great sound. The area is kind of cool. It's the second great fight after champion or Udic Skandir. He's just not at that level. It's a pretty easy fight nonetheless. And you just gotta watch yourself because he'll kill you pretty easily. The Twin Princes. Put the Twin Princes right here. Again, the name was king. This is one of the boss fights that gave me the most trouble. I mean, watching for Lorian's attack is hard because he has a long sweeping attack, a long charging attack that'll do tons of damage, and then when they break apart, you have two distinct areas for people to fight. Lothric swinging his sword, even though he's a gimp with his broken legs, he can still do damage like that. And then you have to worry about Lothric with his magic, and that really hurts. I did not have help with this one. I did try and beat this one on my own, and it was a real accomplishment because this one probably killed me about 20-30 times. It took me a while to beat him, but when I beat him, he felt really accomplished. Great score, great area in the throne room, and this haunting dialogue from Lothric after you kill him. You kind of feel bad, but also like you two should have linked the fire. You should have linked the fire, but you didn't. And it's just sad because like he's the sons of Osiris. He and the dragon abandoned his family. It's a sad outcome, but it's a great fight nonetheless. One of the most challenging ones in the game, and a very good fight that you'll feel very accomplished about when you beat him. Definitely one to look forward to on your journey. And last but not least, Yorm. I think Yorm is great. I think he's such a cool looking character, such a cool boss. And yes, it's a gimmick fight with the Stormbreaker. You have to charge it up, and then it only takes about 5 uses of the Stormbreaker to actually beat him. And like I've tried to beat Yorm without using Stormbreaker, and you can't do it. I mean, you probably can, but the amount of damage that you chip off him, even at a stronger level, is not very much. And you kind of have to use a Stormbreaker, but that's okay because Stormbreaker is a cool ass weapon and it's fun to use. And then when you look at the lore of Yorm, we'll move Yorm up above Osiris. Yorm is he was named king basically as a joke, but he tried to save his people. But they were all burned by the chaos of the flame. And when you meet him, he's a broken down wreck sitting in his fallen throne with ashes and skeletons everywhere. And he's like, he wants you to kill him, but he's not going to go easily. He will kill you like that if you're not careful. He has jumping, stomping attacks. He swings around his sword, which after you beat him, his butcher knife sword, I use that for the rest of the game. It's really powerful. You can rank it up really high and get really good. It's really good for the strength build. Large swinging attacks, definitely one to use in the future. And he's just a fallen king. And although the fight is not as good as what what Miyazaki and his team built him up to be, he's still a fun fight, still a memorable one. Stormbreaker is awesome. The haunting score It is triumphant but sad and somber as well. One that you will not forget on your way to winking or not winking the fire. And there you go. It's a great. I love Dark Souls 3. Low key, one of my favorite games I've ever played. And yes, maybe someday I will come back and re-rank all the boss fights after beating both DLCs, because I know there's a lot of really good fan favorites in there as well. But let me know what you think. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.